Hey, what's going on guys? It's me, Aiden, from Cartoon Apocalypse, and welcome back to another video of The Owl House. Today we're going to be talking about The Owl House Episode 6, Hootie's Moving Hassle. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and just hop right into it. So this episode is the standard, card game episode. That's how I want to call it, because it seems like every show sort of has this card game episode in one form or another, so this was just this show's version of that. And one thing we immediately notice is the curse is back, and this is just proving that this curse isn't going to be like a one episode kind of thing. It's going to be occurring and making an appearance a lot, which could definitely prove sort of where we're headed with the show. Now, one thing new about this episode is that we actually get to see Ida's potion supplier, which is pretty cool. His name's Morton, so he's sort of like not what you'd expect, but I really like him. And speaking of not even just this episode, but the entire show in general, the backgrounds of this show are so funny. Like, they just have like little hidden messages and stuff that just make it so enjoyable just to like look around. Like, there might not be any secret hidden messages, but it does look like there's a lot of things that if you just look around, you can see like, oh, that's funny and whatnot. So yeah, I appreciate that. So moving on to the main point of this episode, Luz, Willow, and Gus want to hold this moonlight conjuring. But since Ida has to go to the black market to get her new potion, she kind of denies that, but they do it anyway. Now, one thing I wanted to mention is that Hootie's just perfectly fine with like people coming into the house, even after Hootie's supposedly heard that Ida said no visitors and whatnot. So I think that's kind of funny how Hootie's just like, yeah, I don't care. So I don't know, I just thought I'd mention that. Now, here's a question that I have sort of for this, okay, so they were trying to animate and do the conjuring on this doll, the Beefy Bob doll. But here's the thing, they were trying to animate a non-living object, and they even said earlier on in the episode that the house is a living creature. So, can you animate something that's already living? And if you can, does that mean that you can animate like another human, for example? Like, what exactly is the limit to this spell? So I just sort of wanted to hear what that explanation was. So I really don't know what to take from that. So throughout this episode, we meet two more candidates for like the evil villain of the show. However, I highly doubt that either of the two candidates are going to be like a viable option for a full-time villain of the show. First, we have the Demon Hunters, and then we have Grimhammer. And to be honest, they just don't like Grimhammer, especially. I can't see him really coming back for another episode. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure we will see him like one more time, but that's probably it. And then as far as the Demon Hunters go, I could see them being in a couple more episodes, but I don't really expect to see them too often. But that brings up an interesting idea and question, because we don't have a main villain. We don't have like a goal that we're trying to defeat. Sure, we have the Emperor's Coven, and we know that they're trying to capture Ida, but is that it? Like, is there no villain? And if I'm being honest, I think it's gonna have something to do with Ida's curse. I think that's gonna be like the main premise of the show, but again, we haven't really had that confirmed. So right now we're just kind of sitting idly, being like, okay, where is this going? What's the main goal of this season trying to be? Is it trying to free Ida from her curse? Is it trying to defeat a villain that we don't know yet? So I don't know. We'll probably learn that coming soon, because we're already, well, actually, I don't know how long the season is, but we're already close to halfway through the allotted episodes that we have for, confirmed for dates at least. So skipping to the very end of the episode, we learn that conjuring really just anything is really tough. Like, we had a lot of really good witches, like Amity's friends. We can assume they're pretty good witches, especially with Amity there, but they couldn't even conjure this one little doll, while Willow, Luz, and Gus were able to animate an entire house. How? And you know what? Who knows? Maybe it's because the house is living, and that's how they were able to animate it. I'm not sure, but something's not right here, because that takes a lot of magic, and even Ida said that. So here's the thing. One person in the group had to be like an iron horse, like the powerhouse of this whole operation. Now, was it Gus? Probably not, because he admits like, oh yeah, my magic isn't super great, when they were like falling off the cliff. And Luz hardly has any magic aside from her little symbols that she can write down on things. So she doesn't have any true magic flowing through her, so it's most likely not her either. So that means it must be Willow. And Willow already we know that she has a lot of power with like plants and stuff. So I'm just like, if Willow has enough power to animate an entire house, that's really crazy. And that gets me really excited to see what her role is going to be in the future, because who knows, she might actually become the new class number 1 like we saw in like the first or second episode. But yeah, I think that's all I wanted to talk about today. So if you enjoyed, you can leave a like and subscribe for more content similar to this. If you were wondering why there was no Owl House video last week, that's because there was no episode of the Owl House last week. So yeah, stay tuned for next week's, because I believe they are airing one next week. So yeah, I'll talk to you then. Goodbye.
I've got leaves in my pants. And I like it.